morning, everyone. I always say good morning, and then I always think about, like, wait, it might not be morning for everyone. But hey, how's it going? I'm Omar Tic Tac Tomar, here for the weekend edition of Game Over International, taking over for Andrew Berkshire. If you logged on, uh, maybe about like 3 or 4 minutes ago, you might have seen me by accident. I'm kind of still laughing about it. I guess that was what happens when you start the stream and don't go into the stream will begin frame and just start out. So it was funny checking the stream and seeing myself and having that mini panic attack of like, oh my gosh, no, I shouldn't see myself. So that was great. So to I guess to quote Jason Derulo, I'm riding solo here, but I think it's still going to be a fun time. I have the chat open, so if anyone wants to make ask any questions or make any comments or whatever, while we're going through all the Olympic stuff, that'd be great. So speaking of Olympic stuff, so I kind of wanted to just like took some notes on some things that took place as far as medal finish events, qualifications, and of course we're going to talk about the men's USA versus Canada game that took place, and also talk about curling and how that is developing in a very interesting way, especially after what happened yesterday with the women's team. And then obviously talk about the women's hockey team in Team Canada and how they're just on a monster path of destruction, on their way to a clear gold medal game. So we'll see how that goes. So as far as medal finishes, so we have the men's skeleton where Canada qualified, but they finished last, unfortunately. Women's Super G alpine skiing, Canada finished fourth, so a little better. Men's speed skating. Speed skating has been something I've been really paying attention to. Generally just as a thing, I always watch speed skating just because I like the form and I like how calming it looks. So in the men's speed skating 10,000 meters, you had Ted Yan Bloman and Graham Fish who finished 8th and 5th, respectively. And for me, I guess it's kind of a tough pill to swallow especially for Ted Yan Bloman, because considering how I guess upset and disappointed he was and how he finished in his last men's single round in speed skating. So it's tough there, but I guess that's what happens. That's the beauty of the Olympics, the beauty of sports, in a general sense. And then men's speed skating that just finished not too long ago. Is the 500-meter. Canada finished fourth, so no medal there. As far as qualifications go, I guess still talking about speed skating. The women's short track speed skating was something that I think a lot of people were paying attention to via Courtney Lisa Rowe and Allison Charles. However, neither of them qualified for the final. They finished third and fifth in their respective groups. So once the quarterfinal came, they didn't qualify there. However, men's short track speed skating, the 5,000 meter relay, they did qualify. They qualified for the final A, so that's great. And also the men's individual large hill. So Mackenzie, Boyd-Clowes, and Matthew Sukup, they qualified for their final, which is actually going to happen not too long after this recording. I want to say it's taking place 7 a.m. Eastern time. So that's something that you can look at and tune into right after this episode of Game Over International. Now let's get into the main topics. First, curling. Curling is something that is another sport that Canada generally does well in. Curling is kind of in a little bit of trouble. So the men's curling team, they lost to Switzerland. They lost to Sweden this morning. Hopefully, they can, battle back and they'll have the next opportunity to do that against USA. Now the women's team is pretty interesting. So they started off with a loss as well. They lost 8-5 to Japan. At first they were up 2-1 at the end of the second, but then at the second end, but then Japan just kept coming and Canada didn't really have an answer for that. The Canada versus Sweden game in particular was pretty interesting, just because it seemed as if there was a lot of structure going on, but a lot of mistakes were being made at the same time. Sweden in particular had a lot of heavy rocks that were just not being placed well, or being completely past the half line in the house. They weren't being able to be played. But then they had an interesting comeback, and even the final end to kind of decide who was going to win actually came down to measurements. And that's something that I always find interesting, just because it's it's nerve-wracking, but it can also be frustrating at the same time. Because we always say that sports is a game of inches sometimes, and you're watching this game and legitimately it was a game of inches. But Canada had the hammer at the end of the game. They had an opportunity to get the final point. Knocked out one of the rocks, at least that was right in the center. But then again, the final rock that they needed to measure to figure out what was going to go on had to come down to a measurement, and Sweden ended up taking the win there. So right now, Canada's in sixth in the standings. They're tied with Denmark and Switzerland, I believe. So the next set of games are going to be really important because, again, as far as qualifications go, you want to be as high as the standings as possible. That sounded obvious, but, so again, it'll be interesting to see if they can rebound, they can battle back from that, because, again, there are a lot of key names within curling on that team, and, they've done a lot of incredible things, especially at different Olympic competitions. So we'll see how that goes on. Next, the mixed snowboard cross. This was not funny, but something funny took place. So Canada wound up getting the bronze medal. So you had Elliot Grandin, or Grandin, sorry, who actually rode off the momentum that he generated with his silver medal not too long ago, and so his run, he just flew out, finished first. It was solid. Now the women's run via Marietta O'Dine, she literally had someone land on her back. No hyperbole. So off one of the jumps, the Italian athlete actually landed on her on the fall, and so both fell, and the United States ended up getting the gold medal there. But just watching it happen and watching it in slow motion, it was just like, oh, I think she actually landed on her. And then when they zoomed in on the replay, it's like, no, but yeah, she actually did land on her. They reviewed it. They looked at it, but at the end of the day, again, the USA got the gold medal. I want to say Italy had the silver medal, and then Canada got the bronze there. And actually, the Team Canada Twitter account actually had a funny tweet saying, for Canada, we wear a maple leaf on the chest, but sometimes we have an Italian on our back or something like that. And there's like a screen capture of the actual landing impact, which is pretty funny. So that's solid there. Another medal for Canada there, and again another great performance from Ellie Grandin, and again Marietta O'Dine put up some work as well, which is great. Now moving on to the main event of probably a lot of people's Friday nights or afternoons or mornings, again depending on where you're watching it. The men's game, so USA versus Canada. Not a win, but still a very interesting game. So USA ended up taking the game 4-2. I think there are a lot of things to take from that game. In particular, the difference in speed. I think that was one of the main things that a lot of people were talking about, is the fact that Canada put together a veteran heavy group with a lot of former NHL players who are in their 30s. You have Eric Stahl, you have Daniel Winnick, you have Jordan Wheel, you have David Desjardins. Like, you have all of these like veteran, well experienced players, and then on the United States end, they actually went with youth, right? Like their entire second line, with players that us Leafs fans are going to be focusing on, Matthew Nyes, Nick Abruzzese, Matthew Beniers. Like, that second line was solid. So, but there's a lot of youth that was brought in that game, and I think that was part of at least Canada's initial strategy when it came to how they were playing, because like there were some hard hits throughout the first period. Like, you can definitely tell that I guess the mantra or the belief was like, hey, you know what, like, let's, these are kids, they'll, this is a huge stage for them, even though yes, they have played at different international tournaments before, but we can really try to intimidate them a little bit and finish our checks. And literally, like, every time the puck was in the corner, the puck was along the boards, like someone was being hit, and with not many fans in the stands, like, you heard every single impact, which was solid. And then again, when you look at the first goal, the first Canada goal, literally it's just that same pressure just established in the neutral zone via Eric Stahl, leads to that first goal, right? So I think that was very interesting to see again how Canada was very aware of their presence and again of their experience and tried to really intimidate the United States, physically throughout the game. Now, did that work? To an extent. I think it worked in the first 10 minutes of the game. I think, Canada was out shooting the United States. I want to say it was like 11-3, but then there was a moment where just like everything switched and it went back in the United States' favor, and Canada just looked really slow. Like, they just like they couldn't keep up with plays. The United States were just wheeling and dealing in the offensive zone, especially speed down the middle, which again is a hockey cliche, but it worked a lot. And I think that was interesting to see how, even though Canada is a more experienced team, that United States said, okay, well, yeah, we're not as experienced, but we're fast and we're skilled, and we're going to use that to our advantage. And I think that really ended up paying off for United States when once getting the eventual win. So that's kind of a main thing that I noticed just watching the game and just kind of seeing the roller coaster effect, and how at some moments Canada looked slower, other moments United States looked faster, and again how that kind of came into play. But of course that wasn't the only thing that that impacted the game. I think goaltending was probably the main difference. When it comes between the two teams. So you have, Strauss-Mann, who made 35 saves, and you have Eddie Pascal, who made 23. One of Eddie Pascal's goals against, it might be one that Steve might look at, considering the whole if you're a goaltender, tend the goal type of thing. I think watching Eddie Pascal, I mean, like, he didn't have a horrible game, but I think when it comes down to the difference between the two, I definitely think that he was he came in second place as far as goaltending goes. And, in the third period, especially when, after the United States made it 4-2, and, and Canada was trying to push for an equalizer or just to gain something, and they were getting their chances, like a number of chances, whether it's, points, shots from the point that were getting redirected, rebound attempts right from the slot. Like, so they were coming over and over and over again, but Strauss-Mann made every single save. Like, he was the man. That was something I came up with, and I didn't know if I was gonna say it or not, but I saw an opportunity. So if you laughed, great. Yeah, again, I think that was the interesting thing. And on Canada's end, when it comes to Eddie Pascal, it's just like it's a chaotic crease, I guess is the best way to kind of describe it. It's just that there's so much movement, and with all of that movement, it actually led to a lot of easy, quote unquote, easy opportunities for United States to score. I think of their third goal, where United States player gets the poke check. Eddie Pascal is out of his net trying to play the puck, doesn't get back in the net in time, and it's an easy open net goal, right? And a lot of the opportunities that United States got, you literally, the whistle's blown and Eddie Pascal is just like out of his crease, like all the way off to the side of the net. And the broadcast talked about it. A lot of people talked about it, and even Eddie Pascal actually mentioned it. I mentioned himself. He actually had this to say about his performance, saying, I fought the puck pretty much all night. I gave up 2 weak ones. If I make those 2 saves, we're going to 2-2 go. We were 2-2 going into overtime. And again, you don't want to like point the finger at someone and say, "Hey, this is all your fault. You're the reason that they lost." But you definitely do see the differences in style, and the fact that when Mann was making his his saves, he was more secure. He was more positioned, more quiet, more sound. Whereas for Pascal, it seems like he was fighting a little bit and moving around too much, to try to get those, to try to make those second and third efforts. And again, I think when it comes to the Kenny Agostino goal, again another Leaf tie-in, huh? I think that's definitely one that you want to have back, because it's a slap shot that goes through the body, and it's 4-2, and then at that point again, Canada is trying to battle back, but then you have Mann at the other end of the ice who's shutting things down. So I think goaltending was another thing that definitely came into play. However, Eddie Pascal did have like a disgusting sequence in the first period. He made like 5 or 6 saves like in a row. Like it was point shot, rebound, save, and even Nick Abruzzi's like literally could have scored, and then Pascal made a ridiculous right pad save. So he had his shining moments of standing up, but again, when it came to the overall decision, you can definitely say that goaltending was the difference, or one of the differences between the two. Another thing. Let's see. Another thing. This is something that I saw people. I saw a lot of commentary on it on Twitter, which is pretty funny. Why am I watching Daniel Winnick on playing on the Olympic team? And yeah, I get it. I'm pretty sure Daniel Winnick is the oldest player on the team. I have to check that. I have to check that. But I'm pretty sure he is. But I thought he actually had a pretty good game, right? The short-handed goal by Knight, he kind of creates that. And I think him, also another underrated performance, I think, was David Desjardins. Again, I think he also bought into the physical element of the game and the physical mantra of, hey, let's use our bodies to intimidate the U.S. a little bit. And a lot of his strong forechecking moments actually led to some turnovers direct behind the net. And I think when it comes to those behind the net plays, those are the ones that are the most dangerous. And I think when you're up against a goaltender like man that has that is showing to be very secure and very sound positionally, I think those behind the net plays are the ones that are really going to stand out. And I think as the game went on, they're trying to go for those plays, and again, those strong forward checks like that from David Desjardins, I guess, really stand out. So that's something else that I wanted to make note of. What else? Owen Power is good. Um, I see the hype. This is one of the few times where I've actually been able to watch Owen Power play in full. And again, it's different than the World Juniors, or different than his college play. And again, that's not to put any slight on those areas at all. But just watching him play, it's hilarious to think wow, he got drafted last year. He looks like a comfortable professional player. And again, just in the decisions he makes, his timing, as far as activity from the blue line, his recovery, when it comes to when he has pressure behind him, the plays that he makes, right, the poise. It's wild to think how young he is, and again how just comfortable and better than a lot of players on Canada. And so seeing that difference, I think, is wild. So yeah, shout out to Buffalo. They got a good one there. And hopefully things don't go south in that category. But yeah, I thought Owen Power was great. Anderson, I think, on the USA, that's a story as well. Considering the fact that he just joined the team not too long ago. How he was in LA with COVID protocol, needed to have a couple of negative tests. Had a great number, arrived in Beijing, and then literally just jumped into the game and played. And it's not like he was eased in or anything. He was relied on a lot. He had 11 shifts in the first period, played a whole bunch of time. But again, Anderson is another player as well that I think if you're a Sens fan, I think you'll be really happy about. Just the comfort, and I think that's the big thing when it comes to defensemen, especially playing against men, playing against experienced players, is just the comfort of these players is so spot on. So I thought that was solid from him there. Let's talk about the Leafs boys a little bit. So Josh Hosang, he gets on the scoreboard early with a primary assist. It wasn't a beautiful assist or anything, but I think it's still awareness of a play and in reading what's going on. Eric Stahl causes a turnover in the neutral zone. Josh Hosang picks up the puck. I think he was trying to go for one of those crisp cross ice passes, but the pass actually ended up going off of Eric Stahl. But hey, Robinson still comes off from the point, sends a puck on net, it beats man, and Canada's up 1-0. So not a highlight reel goal of any means, but I think it does speak to his awareness on the ice, and again of anticipating plays of what's going on. I think his hands are ridiculous. The way he skates is great. I think the way he's able to kind of attract attention. There is a moment where he's skating into the offensive zone with the puck, and four USA players all kind of circled around him, and then he just made a feed over to the empty player, to the open player. So I think that skill is amazing. He even almost scored himself on the power play. It was a bouncing puck, and he had a lot of space, but the eventual shot went wide. But I think a game like that for him is especially after their previous game where you found the board as well, I think is a solid performance from Josh Hosang. And again, I'm very interested to see how he continues to thrive within this game. So shout out to 96 there. The Leafs boys were solid. Matthew Nyes and Nick Abruzzese. I think that was a line that was relied on a lot. And again, considering the fact that they are a very young line, but not young in a bad way. I think they had played a lot of effective, strong minutes, a lot of great scoring chances. Matthew Nyes, I don't know. If it's fair to say this, but like Matthew Nyes looks like he could like step into the NHL like yesterday. You know what I mean? Like the way he dumps and chases the puck. He has good strides, he has good speed. I really like the way in which he kind of uses his lateral movement, like literally moving his body left and right to get around players and to get to pucks first. Like that's a power forward in the making, man. And I can't believe we got him in the second round. Like it looks like a better decision like every single day. Yeah, he's just incredible to watch, and it's just so fun. And I think even seeing the way that that Nyes and Abruzzese like work off each other, I think was really great as well. And again, Abruzzese had a solid scoring chance. Again, it was just a strong right pad save from Pascal. But just seeing their dynamic, seeing how often they're relied on. I want to say at the end of the first, with like .9 seconds left, like they were on the ice. They're on the ice, like in that situation again when it's a 1-1 game, and not 1-1. Sorry, it was a 2-1 game, and so I just think seeing the fact that they've been able to generate so much trust, within the coaching staff at this age on this stage, I think speaks a lot to them and what they've been able to accomplish, and again to who they are as players. I think the highest compliment you can ever get from a coach is they can look at you and say, "Hey, I trust you in any situation," and it's clear though that those two have the trust from their coach. So honestly, like, man, like Leafs fans, like Matthew Nyes is legitimate, and I don't know when the contract is going to be signed, but like, if it's not this season, I can definitely see Matthew Nyes like competing next season. Again, it will depend on him and what he wants to do. If he wants to do another year of school or not, who knows? But like Matthew Nyes, man, like I could watch him all day. He's just such a nice player to watch. So that was another thing that I wanted to point out that was solid. So from there, again, I guess it'll be interesting to see again, whether the team, I guess, can maintain their level of pressure. Again, I think what the issue was is that they started off really great, and then either they took their foot off the gas, or I don't know, maybe it was just just a conditioning thing or an age thing, whatever. But they allowed the United States to get back into that game, and I think that was one of the main difference makers. Again, in combination with goaltending, that was the main decider. So I think moving forward, like what they need to do is again ensure that the pressure is maintained continuously and not kind of ease up for a little bit to allow the opposition to get back into the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right, so moving on from there, let's talk about the women's team. Who, if you could, I guess, use one word to describe them, I think you could say domination. Domination with a capital holy crap. Let me just read off some stats that I compiled. So in the preliminary rounds, so they've outscored their opponent 33-5. The only team that gave them any sense of a quote unquote challenge was the U.S. in that 4-2 game. But besides that, it's just been domination over dominating performance, and you look at this team and it's like, oh my god, like how, like who is going to beat them? Like who legitimately is going to stand a chance? And I think that again, that just speaks to the raw talent that is just on this team, just on every level, on every line, on every defense pairing, even in goal, even the difference in goaltending, right? Like it's just they're just a complete unit. And again, watching them play, again, I think we're watching, like, you ever get those moments where you're watching something and it's like, I think we're watching like either history in the making or watching the beginning of something new. I think when it comes to this women's team, we're watching both. Like, not only are we watching history being made, but we're also watching like the I guess, I don't know, the rise of a lot of like star Canadian talent. And I think that's something that's really, that really stands out. Sarah Fillier and Brianne Jenner, they both had hat tricks. Sarah Nurse and Mary Philippe Poulin both had 4 assists. Again, another shout out to Jamie Lee Rattray, another a player that Andrew Berkshire has talked about. Andrew Berkshire has talked about a lot as a player that's been very underrated, and heading into this tournament you didn't know how often or how well Canada was going to rely on her, but I think she's really taken her game to another level and has stood up even amongst these dominating performances. She has found a way to stand out in multiple ways, so that's been awesome. And then so it's just like just watching all of these players and considering like the impact of the game. It's just like, yeah, again, you ask yourself like, how are they going to lose? Like, their quarterfinal game, they win 11-0 against Sweden. They outshoot Sweden 56-11. They go 4 for 7 on the power play. So it's just in every angle, right? On every angle in any way you look at it, it's just like it just doesn't look like it looks like this year is definitely Canada. The gold medal is Canada's to lose for sure. And I think it'll be interesting to see what that path is to get to that gold medal game. So right now, USA has advanced to the semifinals with their 4-1 win over Czechia. Finland did beat Japan 7-1, which that one kind of stings a little bit because I think so the conversation for a while has been does women's hockey belong in the Olympics? First, yes, full stop. And the criticism or the words against it has been like, oh well, every year it's just Canada's and the United States' tournament. But I don't think that's a reason to get to remove Canada, the women's Olympic games in hockey. I think what we should be focusing on is the other stories as well. I think we should be talking more about the fact that Japan won their group. I think there are a lot of rising stars on that team, right? And I think those are the things that matter. And I think when it comes down to this just closed-minded narrative, that women's hockey doesn't belong just because Canada and U.S. dominate. I think that's just wrong, and it's just so closed-minded because again, we have a lot of young people who are watching these women play, and who may think, hey, I want to be that next person. I want to be on the international stage. I want to be on the Olympic stage. And this goes regardless of any country. And again, I think you look at a team like Japan, who historically doesn't do too well, or doesn't do the best. When it comes to Olympic participation, and you see what they've done this year, and I think it's solid. And yes, even though they couldn't get past Finland, I don't think that's any detriment to them as a whole. To be honest, I'm excited to see what they do the next time around. I'm excited to see how these other countries kind of see their raise their stake as far as women's hockey goes. So yeah, I think that's just one thing I wanted to say about that entire narrative. And yeah, and if you see articles about it, don't click on it, don't quote tweet it, don't do it, because they're wrong. So sorry, that was like a little tangent there. So yeah, so US has advanced, Finland has advanced. The next thing we have to wait out for is the ROC versus Switzerland, and that's happening later this morning, so at 11:10 Eastern time. And from there we'll be able to see how the semifinals shake out, and again how the finals go there. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Canada ends up getting in the gold medal. I think a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if they end up getting to that gold medal game. But I think it'll be interesting to see who they end up facing, who's on the other side of the ice against them once that takes place. And again, I think no matter who ends up facing Canada in that gold medal game, I still think it'll be a very entertaining game. And again, we'll speak to a lot of the sacrifices, a lot of the training, and again, a lot of the superstar talent that we've been seeing this entire tournament. So that's been great to see. All right, wow, that went by pretty fast. Maybe let's see if I can. Let's see if there's any interesting comments that I can kind of point out before heading off here. Hey, Silver Fox, how's it going? of the dynamic that Power Johnson and McTavish bring. Yes, McTavish was another player that another thing I made note of that I didn't mention. Mason McTavish is good, man. He's good as well. Like he almost scored. He ripped a shot so quick off the crossbar. Um, and literally that's and in another universe that goes in and the game's different. So I think that would be really really great. He's been really great so far, and again, it's been interesting to see how he's taken his play from the World Juniors and kind of applied it to the Olympic Games. Yeah, Daniel Winnick. Yeah, he's been Daniel Winnick playing. I think it's wild. I think it was also pretty funny too how like Daniel Winnick and like Matthew Nyes were having some like heated argument. Like Winnick was yelling at Matthew Nyes for some reason. So I think it's pretty interesting to see like, oh, a Leaf player of Leafs past and players of Leafs future talking about it. So I think that was pretty solid. Okay, cool. So I think that yeah, the time is 6:30. So I think that wrapped things up. That went pretty well. That was better. That was better than I thought. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. That was great. Thank you. That means a lot. So we'll be back tomorrow for more Game Over International. So check out the SDPN YouTube channel for that. Also check out previous Game Over International episodes as well as the new podcast that came out. All right. So goodbye. Have a good rest of the day, and again, have fun taking in the rest of the Olympic participation. All right, take it easy.